G'day, doggies fans, all things Bulldogs. It's episode 22. I forgot to do it last week. But anyway, I can be forgiven. I was in Sydney and had to come home. Anyway, g'day to everyone. All the regulars look to have jumped on, which is fantastic. Hello, Elaine. Hope you're feeling all right. G'day, Scary. Welcome again. And thank you for being members of the channel. Much appreciated. Old fella Dave, g'day. Hey, Joby, hope you're well, mate. I can't believe $15 a beer at that place. Unbelievable. David, welcome. So we'll wait for a few of you to get on. Down the bottom, I've already got me predicted round 17 side versus the Panthers next Thursday. We're going to look at some of the win streaks. So the Dogs have sort of asserted some dominance over the last couple of years over some teams, and we've got a few more boxes to tick in this run home. So we've got 11 teams to play on the way home. The Panthers twice, the Storm, the Sharks, the Cowboys away, the Tigers, the Seagulls, the Dragons again, who have become a bit of our bunny side, and a lot more. G'day, how you going, brother? It's great having a chat with you the other week too, brother. G'day, Sayed. Already got a good question to start us off. Is it me, or was the ball limited to Galvin? Is that a tactic, or was Reid making some poor decisions? Look, I think after watching it again, I just think Sexton was the dominant 7 and was allowed to play like that. And they saved Galvin for special moments, and he had a really important try involvement, which got us to that 24 points. I don't think. Plus, we'll make mistakes. Too many penalties. Like the Rabbits never really got any momentum other than penalties. That's what got them up the field. You know, they could hardly make any meters at all, even in that period where they scored 4 tries, and we scored 4 tries, but we kicked our goals. So a lot of people started acting like we lost. It was just a weird long game with that break, and once, and Souths tend to get everything go their way all the bloody time, it seems. Yeah, well, that's why I made sure I shouted you one on the way out, Joby, because I was like, because I didn't know either, and then I think Pete said it. He goes, $15 these. I'm like, what? 4 beers cost you $60. That's ridiculous. Anyway, let's not go there. G'day, Timmy. Welcome, mate. Oh, thank you so much, mate. Do I like the new 95 jersey the club has released? Well, I do like it. I think it's good. I think there's a lot of... I'm going to talk a bit about that as well. And I've been, basically Did Me Feel Good documentary, had a couple of issues with copyright on a ridiculous thing. So, and then we had the stuff with Galvin happen after that. But basically what I wanted to pinpoint was how much revenue the Bulldogs must be getting for this season alone. Like, it's I don't know it for a fact, but the lift in our average crowd attendance has gone from 24,000 last year, 20,000 the year before, or to 34,000 this year. Like, it's nearly a 50% increase, which is unheard of. And even in our peak years, going back to 2012 and stuff, we're only averaging 20 to 21,000 at our best. So this is massive. If we can keep this momentum up, this is so good for our club. And the amount of merch that's been sold, like they've basically sold out of the 25 merch and having to resell it again. And it happened last year as well. So expect 2 sellouts if we can keep this going. Anyway, And, you know, you look at what Gus has done at Penrith and got sponsors and did all that sort of stuff. I know he hasn't done it all on his own. There's a lot of smart people on our board. But the success seems to follow. Yeah, I think I might grab one as well. I still haven't. So basically, I've got about $4,000 worth of irreplaceable Bulldog stuff that I took in my luggage. So I'd have a choice of what I wanted to wear. I had like 4 outfits basically in there that weren't used, of different, you know, bloody jerseys and stuff from different areas, which you can't buy unless you get them secondhand again. They lost my luggage and they still haven't found it, which I'm really pissed off. Put the mocker on myself because the lady behind me, because we actually had our flights cancelled, had to rebook. And she goes, "You got travel insurance?" I said, "Nah, I don't need that." I think the travel insurance covers you up to about $4,500, like the compensation if they lose it. But so I should be right. But it's still irreplaceable, so I'm pretty pissed off. G'day, Joe. Timmy said, it felt like I was at the cricket or the AFL. The game was played in quarters. Yeah, well, I think they really should have shortened that half time till 5 minutes and left them out on the field. Really, like, ridiculous. Hope you all too, Joe. Around 20 team. Oh, well, I actually should turn all that off, and I am actually going to turn that off for a minute. Sorry about that. We'll go to the round 17 team versus the Panthers, which is more what I should have on there. The reason I had Taff there is I think they're going to have to start resting some players. And they might not do it that soon, but I think they'll have to rotate and rest some players because it's going to be a long run to the finals. We're going to be on 28 points next week. One more win guarantees us a top 8 berth. It's unprecedented. Yet again, another unprecedented thing for us Bulldogs. Yeah, so yeah, I think there'll be a few players will, like, I don't think Crichton will back up, and potentially not even King for the Cowboys game, because that's going to be played, I think, on the Saturday in North Queensland after the Origin 3, which is in New South Wales. Jody, I thought if the Storm didn't come, I think we go on and beat them by a fair bit. We just didn't come out the same intensity. Yeah, look, I think it definitely affected us. I believe, look, I said this to mates while watching it. I said, Wayne Bennett's going to lose his shit. Like, for the entire game in Souths on Easter, they just looked completely devoid of any sort of ability or hope to win the game. Like, they did not know where any points were going to come from. They didn't get close, I don't think. Maybe had one opportunity. And in this game, for that first 28 minutes, it looked very much the same. I feel Jamie Humphries is a pretty good player. Whilst Sexton pulled his pants down for that first try, which is obviously they'd done their homework there, and Toby just saw him backing off and just did what he was supposed to do. And it was really good play. I really liked that try. I liked all those 3 tries, to be honest. They were really good. Like the early ball from Galvin. I like the trust, the combination of both halves, both sides of the field. But in that second part, you got to say South. Apparently, Bennett didn't say nothing to him for that 25 minutes. He didn't go down there, and then he went down there at half time. I reckon they woke up a little bit, and they went much harder into the contact defensively. They weren't there to start. And it made it harder the way we just kept restricting it. And we actually restricted them defensively the entire match. They could barely make 30 metres the whole game unless they got penalties, And then our boys were a bit puffed. Harry Hayes, I think, he had a couple of good runs, and then he had a couple of flat runs, and he was met at the advantage line a couple of times, which was fatigue in the setup. So the boys had some flat spots there, which it's funny because they had that big long break before the Eels game. Lots of, they went hard that whole game. And the Eels matched them for most of it as far as intensity went. And then they were a little bit flat. They were obviously lacking Critter, who provides energy. King, who's your first hit-up guy. It's so important. I felt Daniel Saluka-Fafita had his best game as a Bulldog as far as what he did in his 9 runs. Moran was great the whole time, but they only used those two for 40 minutes in the whole match between them. And I feel that Serrato could have actually brought Moran back on or DSF, and it may have actually helped us a bit. But I think he's quite happy to let those players that he know are going to be a part of, those individuals suffer a little bit and actually have to be resilient and fight it out and win it and grind it out again and win it again. And that's what they did. I think the Haywood starting at lock is all about his resilience moving forward. He's getting more and more minutes at the start. He's definitely not as effective starting because it does. That work in the middle that he's doing is taking a bit of the puff out of him. It's affecting his ball playing and stuff like that. He still had some good moments, and I felt he ran better in that game. He made some breaks. He was hard to tackle. Made about 5 tackle breaks in the match. I will go over the stats just to show you how dominant we actually were over that entire 80-minute period, even though Souths did wrestle some back, but it was all from repeat sets. It was all from penalties. They don't do shit without the penalties in that match. Yeah, their tries looked all right, but, I could see that try coming where Tallis Duncan runs through our right edge. We were just slow. The whole 4 of them, Preston and Sexton were passive as in that play. And then Carraz and Wilson sort of just jammed up and, it just didn't happen. But I blame the inside for that. It was passive and tired the way it went. And Sexton was probably allowed to be a little bit tired considering how much he, he was basically doing most of the stuff, most of the kicking, most of the halfback play, and they allowed him to do that. And, his first 28 minutes were close to his best of the season. Overall, I think the game was sort of taken a bit out of his hands as far as possession, and the ill discipline of the team made it hard for him or Galvin to sort of do much from then on other than be link players. And, and they had a few moments and got some stuff happening. But that first 28 minutes, they were so highly involved, the both of them. And, Galvin taking a kick return, which he didn't have to do, which was quite a good one. His early ball, linking both sides, they did a good job, and I think the fact that they played Taff in that 17 role, as I've said, for all but one game, it's been 3 small players in that side, the 13, the 14 and the 17. And they've used Taff and Turpin for this game. And next week, I think you'll see Mann there. Mann or Haywood start. One of those two starts. Galvin will play 17 again. I can't see them just, the narratives that everybody wants is to sit there and say that, they're fighting for the 7 spot, Toby and Galvin and all that sort of thing. I think it'll happen more through attrition or anything like that. Or if either player has some stinkers, that could work against them. But from what I'm seeing is that everyone's stepping up to the challenge, which is really, really good. Let's get into your comments. Montoya's had the best back-to-back game since joining the club. G'day, Mark. Welcome. Timmy, that's I'll highlight that comment. Very well done. he had a great game, and he had a really good game against Para. I think having that 18 days off, he needed that. These wingers, they just absolutely put their bodies on the line, and I find Montoya is you'll see it when Jacob Carrez plays, and when our defence dominates, Montoya really helps drive home that advantage out of yardage, especially as the second man hitting it up. So if Tracey's getting that good run because the other team can't get out of their half, have to kick long, Tracey's running it back 15, 20, 25 metres every time. Montoya's generally, way over the advantage line on the next run. He used to do it at the Warriors, him and Lieutenant DWZ, they used to do that. And when you got Carraz in there as well, he goes even harder. Where he can wind up and turn side on and launch basically his hips and his shoulder into the opposition. They find it very hard to deal with. If he's getting the ball off a short runoff, he's you'll see there was a couple of times in that second half where he got driven back a bit. But yeah. G'day, Bulldogs. Our crowd's been affected by rain, and we had one Belmore game which brought the average down too. Yeah, it's massive. Like, I think the Broncos apparently is about 40, and we're about 34,000. No LA, no Las Vegas game. The Magic Round game was an away game, I'm pretty sure. So, we haven't got any credit for that. It's been massive, guys, and the Dogs fans can keep turning up. 23,000 at the Souths game, and I reckon there would have been about 14,000 Bulldogs or more there. At least 65. 2/3 of the crowd were Bulldogs. Resting will start to happen in final 4 weeks, hopefully with Satilli and Todd back on the board to support. Yeah, and I think we'll see Underhill get a go at some point. I think we'll see Jonathan Sewell get a run at some point. Maybe see Mitch Woods get an 18th man run at some point, which will make things interesting. I think it'll be good fodder for the for all the the chitter chatters on NRL 360, and a cockhead called Eamon Tiernan, who will be doing a feature on him shortly, along with him and Braith and Hooper and Buzz, of course. We get 7 back for the Dragons clash, potentially. So round 20 or 21, that would be. And Jack Todd maybe I think round 21 or 22 is when we'll get Tupanua back. So he's 5 weeks away. So it's going to be interesting whether they keep Daniel Saluka-Fafita or if Sam Hughes, who I think by that time might be competing really hard for a starting spot. But while Daniel does what he did on the weekend, unless Sam's showing he's going to be able to play 30, 40 minutes on his head, that's when Daniel will relinquish his spot until they feel confident Hughes is going to be able to play those longer minutes. I think that's what will stop that. It's pretty amazing what they're getting out of this team. It's so demanding as well. Like, I think we're seeing the effects of it on Harry Hayes a little bit in that game. But people said he had a poor game or he was running up slow. There was a couple of moments, yeah. But if you're watching him, not just when he's got the ball, he's making 39 tackles. He's hardly missing any. And he's also on the kick chase. He's one of the first ones leading it every time. So I think people need to I see how it happens, because I've even said things in the past where you see a couple of moments and go, oh, that was shit. And it just can take over your whole game. Someone scores a try, all of a sudden they've had a good game, I think when assessing players and putting your public record out there, if you're going to criticise or praise someone, maybe I think we should. Between mates, it's all right, but publicly, I think we should probably it's up to you, but I'd definitely think about maybe really having a good watch of the game again, rather than going out there and putting shit on people. You know, the crap that Turpin's crap. I don't care if he, you know, he had a game. He probably rather forget. He'd be frustrated at himself because he gave away penalties. He got sin bin, put us in danger. You don't wipe out a player because of that, but you know he might not get another chance. But if Serrato thinks that he's the man for the job, I'll be backing him 100%. Perez went down during the game against the Bunnies. I'd love to see Tualo or Stewart elevated for Critter and the other outside backs. Yeah, I think I will put those up again. Those sides, my predicted size. I'm getting way ahead of myself. We could lose 3 players to knee injuries next week during training, all at the same time. Like it's just something I like to do. Just sit there and think about things and watch people and what their attributes are, and and it is hard when you're watching New South Wales Cup and you're seeing how easy it is for some players, different points, but that jump to NRL is just so big. I think Tuala needs a few more weeks, but I can see him getting a run, maybe to replace Critter first up. I know Sue is really close, and they've got a massive opinion of this kid, and I expect to see him get named, getting a contract named, put out there and advised, reported from the club at some point soon. Yeah, our discipline was pretty shit, JB. And look, whilst it was a really bad penalty count, and there was probably 2 or 3 there that I went, I don't think we're getting the same sort of run of the green here. I still think there was at least 9 penalties against us, which I couldn't really argue with at the end of the day. And so we're our own worst enemy. By New South Wales Cup loss, I thought Geordie Mazzoni played well. Yeah, really young team that they put out there against Souths. With 8 of our New South Wales Cup players missing from that side, 8 or 9 regulars, they win that game by 50, 60 points. But in saying that, our boys look good at different parts, as they usually do. They just seem to really lack the youngsters all season. And I think this is part of being young, because at this point, it's about letting them demonstrate all their skills, which can burn them out. There's players in the NRL which don't go 100% with all-out attack every time they do stuff. They play for position. They work things different ways. They might see something heads up, but stick to the game plan. Whereas in Cup and Flegg, they've got a game plan there, but there's a lot more encouragement to, if they see something, go for it straight up. And they burn themselves out with the ball just as much as without it. And that's why you see a lot of big scores in New South Wales Cup. Plus, you got different coaches and whatever else. But, Gus has a huge role in who plays and who doesn't play in Cup and Flegg and Ron Massey. Now, he might not say that that's true, but that is true. I don't think he sits there and names all the teams all the time, but I'm telling you, he's across it all. And if he's got a player he wants to sign or keep or needs to see more of, and get more reports and feedback on, they will move a player from one team to another and vice versa, so he can see that. Sorry for any background noise coming through. G'day, Scotty. We got out of the gates quickly before that lightning. Yeah, everyone was worried when the rain was coming that something bad was going to happen. Good to see you, bud. Very interesting New South Wales Cup side this week, and I will bring that up shortly because it's got a lot of the players back, and it's going to be a big game. I would have had Lipboy for Taff on Sunday. Turpin didn't have his best game, was understandably hooked when possible. Yeah, look, a lot of people would have had Lipboy for Taff. I think what you're seeing there, though, is they tend to play a lot of players against their old club, which just happens all the time. We saw the Eels do that against the Bulldogs, playing Dory, Joash, and Semrani off the bench, plus Katonga, who's been there. There were other options. What you'll see, though, is that's the blueprint. That's the roles. I think there's a little bit of a worry about a couple of the outside backs with injuries. With Carraz, they want to have someone there. They also, we're a bit light on for that. So Taff sort of a bit of cover there for that. But it's just the way it is, that because they plan to carry, I think they plan to carry Sexton and Galvin and Haywood and Burton in the team for as long as possible. And when Salmon comes back, there'll be some decisions that need to be made. And that's when we'll see those decisions be made, I think. And whether we're winning or losing will also, I think, rest heavily on our 7, unfortunately. So if they keep winning, Sexy's going to keep playing in that team. I've watched how the Bulldogs go about business for many years, and especially the current crop, and how they've introduced new players into the halves. Sort of even when Barrett was there, but more since Serraldo and Potsy. And, the results will hinge heavily on the halves as they move. They've got their plan and they stick to it. If Toby keeps stepping up like he has, he just makes it impossible for himself to be dropped and forces the club. Look, there's no, I feel people can feel sorry for players in the team that may lose their position. There's a world where Harry Hayes doesn't make this side in a few weeks. If we get Tupanua back, Salmon back, and everyone there, so because they're going to pick this side. So based on that, look, when I saw Hopoi, I thought they would have actually thought Morin would have been the one to miss out. That's what I really thought would happen. I had an idea. I thought they might bring Taff in or just say, look, Curtis can cover on the edge. He's done it in New South Wales Cup. He can play lock. He could go to hooker if he wanted to. He can play prop. He's pretty versatile. There's a lot of people saying we should have had more big men in it because it's hard to get that through our heads. And when we see Souths nearly win, I saw so many comments about the size of our pack. But I'm like, listen, it's the same sort of side that we've picked all year. Obviously, Mann and Haywood and Salmon are a bit more resilient and tougher, but Jake Turpin was bashing blokes out there. You got to remember that. It wasn't if he was soft in the contact with his tackles that he made. And, and he's scooting across the ground. He had that try involvement down that left edge that we scored. He was involved in that. It wasn't all bad for Terps. But look, my friend, I don't always use the word hooked. I think hooked is a word that we get accustomed to using. I don't believe Reid Marnie was hooked the other week. Now, he might have been. I felt he did too much work in that first 58 minutes to have been hooked. I felt he was just replaced by Galvin, and the coach picked the best team to finish the hard work that the team had done to set that win up. And that's exactly what I thought. Probably easier to say Turpin was hooked at. But, he was off for 10 minutes. So he put him back on. And then they were like, we need to make sure we win this game. So he put his trusted players back on at the end. And that's what he did. Obviously, Carraz and Wilson were struggling together. That edge has struggled all year. Include Toby and Presto in that conversation. Definitely good on their one-on-one stuff most of the time. But, yeah, found wanting a couple of times, which is natural. Jacobs needs a few games in the centres to adjust. Moves Sherry across to the right, takes Wilson off, puts Taff over on the left side, and Carraz pushes out to right wing for that last bit, and we got the job done, which was really, really good. But yeah, I just think they're carrying two small guys on the bench, just as a business as usual thing. And whilst I thought they could have got away with keeping Moran there, they made a decision to remove Lipoy and advance Blake. What do you make of Turpin's performance? I thought it was a mixed game for him. Yeah, well, I went over that, but he tried hard. That's a good way to put it. Too hard. Yep. Got it wrong. Lots of effort. See, that's what we should be saying. But how many that's what I mean. Like, I've been watching a lot of Instagram of some fans. There's this Dragons fan who's like screaming. He's carrying on like some of our fans were. Screaming and speaking in all different language to getting rid of Flanagan and stuff. It's hilarious, but it's so bad. If you're raised to act like that, I can get it while the game's on. Fuck yeah. Bulldogs commentary, that dude's a legend. Love him. Cherry! He actually went in and visited him last year. They actually brought him in to visit. The guys love him. Where he watches the game and he's like, close it out, and he swears and stuff. It's hilarious. Will we have a full team for the Panthers game? It'll be a full team if we don't have any injuries in Origin. It'll be a full team minus Satili Tupanua, minus Jack Todd, who I don't think's a walk-up starter anyway. Yeah, that's basically the two main ones that'll be out if everyone's available. And I can't wait for this game. Probably should have a look at who the Panthers side will be. What the Panthers do have starting to get, but it's going to be tough for them. That's why I think they're really setting up to start their run home against us. Obviously, they had they ground out those two wins, getting their game back on. It was like the start of the season when they played Parramatta and Wests. Lucky to win both. Clearly the difference against the Eels. I felt the Wests were probably could have won that match. I felt that they should have. I think it's going to be a big ask for these Panthers to beat the Warriors after playing Origin 3 days or 2 days later to be in New Zealand. It looks like hardly any of them have been named to go over there and play from the Origin team. And then we'll have a scenario of them at their absolute best team that they can put on the park. And I think it's going to be a good game. We might see Paul Alamotti elevated into that game. But if I was the Panthers, I wouldn't be picking him because I think he'd be someone we'd really target. Not to say he couldn't handle it. A couple of young guys in the team that are a bit hit and miss, but yeah, it's going to be the game. It's a box we've got to tick. It's definitely a box we've got to tick. Turf's tried to make an unwarranted statement. Yeah, I suppose that was another way to put it too. Like, why did you do that? Why did you need to do that? Look, he was just running in kamikaze. I suppose that's the risk you run. Player gets hit by another player first, drops a little bit. I still feel when you're coming down, so you got your shoulder and you're coming down, and you're hitting someone on the way down with a wrapping action. I don't know. We base ourselves on being the fittest team in the NRL, and we still are full of running late in games as seen by our previous second half comebacks. The multiple stoppages negated this for us. It certainly did. So those penalties, see, there's your context right there. Good comment, starring on that one. I've seen I can star some comments. Probably should have starred a few more. But very well said. I think it's a full squad apart from Tupanua. Crows chipping on 0 and got a successful challenge, was undisciplined. Yeah, I suppose the 6 again was sort of called while he had the ball though too, so he might not have heard it. He may not have heard that, so you never know. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. Yeah, Preston's hit at the end was fantastic. I loved it. 100 metres in 20 minutes. We had 73% possession though, and all in good position for DSF to run the ball. He's had some really important 20 minutes in games where he hasn't had the same amount of metres, but has had just the same amount of effect with his defence. I felt against Parramatta, I think Mark called it out. His first tackle in defence against Para was special. Got a really big applause. They only needed 2 in that tackle because of the way he went about his business. I feel he's done a real good job, and people say, where's Hughes? Well, I don't think they're going to carry Hughes on the bench and DSF to start. Unless they're confident those players can play 30, 40 minutes each, it's just not happening. Curran being put on report for the high contact because the Bunnies player ducked and Curran slipped. Yeah, that sucked, man. And, he's taken the early play, another $3,000. If he gets another one, it's going to be a 2-week suspension or a 3-week suspension, similar to what happened to Presto, I think. G'day, George. Welcome. So Tilly's back in 5 weeks, they say. So potentially round 21 against the Seagulls. Timmy, Joey O'Neill missed the New South Wales Cup against Souths. Any suspensions from the NRL game? No suspensions for us. South's got about 3 injuries. Joey's been named to play this week in New South Wales Cup. Yep, that's it, brother. Joseph Topa played. Yeah, he did. He set up that try with a kick. Again, first half, doing stuff with the ball. There's a lot of young players. He's one of our young halves that's very, very good and not talked about much. I actually don't mind Puafisi or the 7 from Ron Massey. Look, he struggles a bit on the defensive side, which they all do, but they're kids playing against men. But God, he's got some skills, and he's not a bad little player, actually. G'day, James. Welcome. The ABC grandstand call on Carrazza's injury was pretty funny. Luke Lewis, he's copped a buttock to the head. Andrew Moore, you heard a crack and panicked. G'day, Big Roo. Been a while, buddy. Man, Mick, hope you're doing well. Love your work, mate. Thanks for the efforts. Terps can never be in the 17. Well, he can. If Serrato picks him, brother. I know it's frustrating on one game, but we can't. I saw that guy defend his ass off in games, smashing everyone he tackled for the Broncos. In seasons they didn't do too well, but he's obviously not a top hooker anymore, but he's someone that if they can get his injuries right, he goes pretty hard in defence. Could throw a ball. If he gets an opportunity again, I'll be cheering him home. I won't be going, oh, fuck, it's Turpin. No, it's not how I roll, brother. You watch the replay of the game, focus on tackling of Arrow. He seems to like pressing his form into the tackle player's head whilst being tackled and on the ground. Joy Arrow is an absolute grub of a player. He's got a massive ego. He can't stand. Some would say, like, wears his heart on his sleeve. Quite the joker as well. But DSF punched him in the face. when he went to the Roosters. Punched Jai in the face. So there you go. But I think they're good mates. I don't like him. Never have. Big sulk. He wants it to be bad. I was seeing below Serrato. He's very animated when Turpin was giving away the penalties. Did shift the momentum, which Serrato wasn't happy with. Oh, of course. Of course. Serrato gets pretty animated. Like, he knows he's the coach of a team that was absolutely dominating. That was in a situation where it's like, if our guys don't pull their finger out, they're going to lose this match. And yeah, why the fuck did you do that? Why did you belt that fucker for? Why'd you need to do that? You know, you've ruined our momentum. I'll tell you what, I felt Reid Marnie had a really good 30 minutes. I love the way he was getting the ball back into Carraz through the middle. His deception was good. He was just getting it to both halves. Then in that second period, we sort of give away a few penalties. We just started losing the field battle position a little bit. You know, their kicking was better, I will say. So their sets were still only like 35 metres, 40 max. A couple of good sets they had in that period, maybe 2 or 3. We had a few sets which sort of were about the same. And Toby was kicking down their throat. Anyway, then we started to get it back. Fourth tackle, Reid kicks for a 40-20. Now, that was a perfect time to do it. I think the team knew about it. He nearly got it. We really cramped them down there again. They managed to get a big kick away again, but we were starting to win that, turn that field possession around just through our hard work. He's gone for it again on the fourth, but this time just put it straight. It actually probably would have found touch. It was a pretty good kick. He hit it well. But Johnson was ready for it, knowing that Reid can't help himself sometimes. Caught it on the full. They got back, and I think they ended up they sort of took us out of the game for the next 10 minutes. And that pissed me off. See, that's just one play. Like, there was the mistake where he threw the ball into Curran's head. That shit happens. Like, I didn't care that he put a grubber into the feed at the start when we were winning 18-0. That's fine. He went for a repeat set. He's done it plenty of times, succeeded. He failed that time. So what? You can fail. That's okay. But the 140-20 attempt was enough. We're wrestling it back. We were turning him around. Let's ruck it up once more, put up an attacking bong, compete, and, and keep it in tow from there. I think we go on with it. They don't get any points or close to any more points in that match. That's what I truly believe. I could see that happening. And they're the type of things when you're trying to wrestle back control and you're actually starting to get it through your hard work, and then someone does a hero play, in my opinion, goes for too much, tries too hard. First time was fine. Second time, no. Why? And to me, that was just as bad as what Terps did in one of these penalties he gave away. But anyway, look, Reid made 58 tackles, works his ass off. Sure, they have to offer Sexton another year. They'd let him go to Perth, and then Mitch would slide straight in. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Mitchie's got to get through another preseason, which I think he will. I think he'll hopefully not get any more hamstring troubles as he fills out into that body. They're still young enough where they're still growing. And until you finish growing, you're susceptible. Whilst you recover really quick, while you're still growing, you regenerate much quicker. So injuries don't last as long and stuff like that. But when it's especially soft tissue, But yeah, it's the club's going to do what they're going to do in regards to that. I'm not going to have an opinion either way. If they give Sexton another year, gives us great depth, I believe. Can we carry that depth? I don't know. I think it'll come down to, is there a player they're actually trying to buy that's really good out there? Like, is there someone potentially on the market that could come to Canterbury and give us another sort of added edge? I don't want to get greedy because I love how we've developed these kids and brought in these hardworking toilers and got the best out of these players as a club. I really love that. But there may be another one on the horizon, guys. The game against South reminded me of the 2023 game. High scoring. It was Sexton's first game in the Bulldogs colours. South made a late comeback, but the Bulldogs managed to come on. Yeah, Blake Taff nearly beat us on his own, brother, that day. Tallis Duncan got that try. But look, we had a much better side than they did that day. They had about 4 or 5 players in Origin for that last game. We just got flogged by Newcastle the week before, 66-0. And yeah, the guys should have won that handsomely and only just held on against basically a team full of reserve graders. So I think our side was, although they were missing Latrell and Cody and obviously, Campbell Graham and their captain Cameron Murray, I still felt that we were missing 4 or 5 of our best players as well. So it was much more even, except we're on top of the ladder and they're way down. And look, I think South should be in the bottom 3. As I said, St George shouldn't have lost to them. Tigers should have beat them. I think there's like 3 wins they got, the Roosters had them beaten. I can't believe the Roosters lost that game. The bullshit bounces from Latrell's dropouts and the forward pass to Tass, 3 metres forward. People trying to tell me it was backward out of the hands. Fuck off. Sorry. G'day, brother. How you going? What do you reckon of Wilson getting pulled off towards the end of the Rabbits game? I reckon Serrato will give Sewer a go for the Broncos game. He may not. I doubt it. I don't think Wilson was hooked. See, a lot of people blame the wingers. I know you do, brother. I've seen your comments. Loss. I've seen your comments. Don't you worry, brother. On Wilson. Mark's wouldn't be very happy with you. Big Mark. But as I keep saying, like Wilson, you probably all thought it was Wilson's fault that Tallis Duncan scored. It was Toby and Presto were gassed and just the line speed wasn't there in that play. And we just got smashed, just got done. Done with energy and speed on that play. I've got another mate who just... See, it's hard. Look, fellas who grow up playing in the forwards have always got a prejudice against wingers. I can tell you that much. Always. Unless that winger is Jacob Carraz or Brian Totwell. Marnie had to come back on the last 5 minutes. Yeah, that's just the coach saying we need to make sure we win this match. We deserve to win this match. We set the game up. Let's go finish it. And he's going to put his most trusted players on there. He brought Blake Taff in. Blake made a bloody good line break. Probably should have scored from that. One thing I know, though, just watching the Bulldogs and all their tries, especially you watch that first try, there's 5 people back in 5 people ready to get the ball from Carraz when he passes to Toby. Could have went inside to Galvin. Went back to Toby. It's just great seeing all that support play. Josh, Jackson will be busy this week, hoping he gets back-to-back wins for the state and the club. That'd be lovely, man. David says there's currently room for sexy Marnie, Galvin, Hayward, but as you say, when Salmon comes back, it will be an interesting bench if Salmon starts. Do we have Mann, Hayward, and Galvin, and just only one middle? I'm not sure. And it's something that I've written it out a few times, and I'm just like, I don't know. We're just going to have to see how the cookie crumbles. If there is people, if we lose a few of these next matches, which could happen, halfback's going to cop a hit, I reckon. Timmy, huge congratulations to Preston Mania being included in the New South Wales Origin squad. Yeah, and as I said, I think Gus sort of had the heads up that he was a chance of playing Origin and probably would have been picked as 18th or 19th or even in that 17 had he not been suspended, and they risked him playing and missing out another game to give him that opportunity. And as I said, he was the first guy I said as an Origin-bound Bulldog. I did one on Carraz. I actually had one for King, but it just got too late and just didn't do it. I didn't think King would get picked. But like earlier in the season, I didn't think he'd get picked. But I felt if he goes and plays Origin quality, actually take you back to what Willie Mason said last year and this year. He's like, these Bulldogs forwards, if the Dogs are going to play finals or do anything, these players that they've got their names have to be in lights when it comes to playing State of Origin. It's just a fact. And it's true, and it's planned out that way. King, Preston, Critter, Burton, Carraz, Kurt Mann. There's 6 players in the frame for Origin. Kickout would be playing State of Origin if he was available. 100% believe that. Leo Thompson, who's coming, is one of the first pick for New Zealand in their forward pack. Would likely play Origin. So we're going to have a pretty good side. Reid Marnie, very close to playing Origin for Queensland. With the injury to Ben Hunt, aging roster. They know he can tackle. You've got to have that many players to compete for premierships. That means we're in a premiership window. Can't believe it. No one would have believed it, really. There's a few people who just grow up every year thinking the Dogs should win the comp. And there's no excuses if we don't. There's people who think that way. I don't. I know how hard these things are to win, and they're even harder for the players, let alone us fans. G'day, Ori Jack. Welcome. What do you think the bench will be after Origin and when Salmon and Satilia are back? Well, look, let's get our banner back up, because I did have some there. So I had that was a possible 2027 team. Oh, I've still got that there. There we go. So it's going down the back. So when Salmon and Satilia are back, look, Satilia, I think they get back at the same time. Maybe I haven't written that team down, but look, there's a chance that either Hughes or Saluka Fafita still take one of the prop starting spots. King has the other spot, Marnie. And then you've got Kickout Preston. Salmon likely goes to lock. Mann at 14. And then you've got Curran and Tupanua. I think what's more likely to happen is they'll go King and Curran in the props. Saluka Fafita and Hughes will both be omitted from the side. So I don't think they'll have a spot for those guys. I think they'll have Curran and King. And the bench will be Mann, Haywood, Tupanua, and Hayes is what I think it'll be. They'll make a choice between keeping Harry Hayes or keeping a Hughes or Fafita. Those are the ones that will be the choice. The other choice is Galvin playing halfback or is Sexton playing halfback? I suppose the other one that they choose between is does Haywood go in to start at hooker? Marnie's moved out and Galvin stays at 17 with Sexton in the squad. It's one of those two players. Either Haywood drops out to reserve grade, Galvin drops to reserve grade, Sexton drops to reserve grade, or Marnie drops to reserve grade. One of those four players is dropping out. They could also, and this is what some people talked about, and is where it goes Tracey, Carraz, Burton, Critter, Bronson Cherry on the wing, Montoya's dropped. And then you've got Galvin and Sexton in the halves. I don't see that happening. I really don't. Let's look at our win streaks and loss streaks before I look at our stats of the game, which I could have looked at a long time ago, but we'll keep you waiting. Let's get back to your messages. Connor Tracey was man of the match, but Pico was brilliant. I'd have to agree. And I have them pictured there with Montoya. Arrow's a grub on the field, but I think he's a nice bloke out off it. He seems pretty funny anyway. Grub act on Teddy when he was in Origin. Yeah, he's definitely, and to me, he should be playing Origin for Queensland if they're serious. You're picking Jai Arrow and you're picking Corey Horsburgh if you're serious. And with Tino. And that's, Liero, unless he's going to pull out some sternum crunches or do something with an elbow. If you're a Queenslander, you're going, what? Like, good toiler. Maybe Slater just thinks he's a Dallas Johnson type, that unheralded 13 that can get in there and do that. But to me, that'd be Kurt Mann. Because Kurt actually goes out and kills people, but he does it in a pretty respectful, gentlemanly-like manner. Mark wants to hear Joby's opinion on Sexy. Hey, Mark, I think that was one of his best. What did you think? That I was meant to say, Mark. All right, there we go. Mark thought he was outstanding, got more room than the Eels game. Well, that was always going to be the case because there's no Burton there. So got to play a little bit more of a senior role with a 19-year-old kid. Makes complete sense. And I felt that's the way it went down. And I felt he did his job well. Outstanding. I think there's still parts of his game he could have done better. I felt his kicking against the Eels was better, especially the pressure he was under. Felt he had a lot more time against Souths. I felt that, obviously that first try stands out in lights because he sees Humphreys backing off and he takes the space. Carraz backing up. The whole lot of them, 6 in a line, running at full speed. Bronson Cherry, 3 line break assists. Should have been 3 try assists as well. And that's probably because given a bit more early ball than usual and flat ball, it wasn't deep ball. He wasn't getting deep ball. He was getting flat ball, but still hitting it at speed and then passing it at speed. And I think that is sort of what's needed with Montoya to take advantage of it. We saw the right side movements had a bit more. It was a lot straighter attack, and a lot flatter attack from the Bulldogs in that whole part. whereas we resort a lot to a lot of deeper stuff. And I think just seeing that variation is very, very important. You know, when we're going to sit there and call out who's the hero and who's outstanding and who's not, I thought they were all bloody good for the most part. Just discipline let us down. Cost us big time. But there was definitely different shape at different times. And South weren't really ready for it. They adjusted. And then obviously penalties nearly got them close to winning that match. Goal kick was an issue for New South Wales Cup, so we might need to call Haslam out of retirement. Follow up on the Reid discussion, there was a moment at 18-0 where 5 metres out could have hit Kicks, who was one-on-one with Sullivan. He dummied and went himself. Kicks wasn't happy. Yeah. Look, there's moments like that all day for the hooker, brother. Hookers are getting hammered left, right and centre. They hold the keys to the game, essentially. And why do you think Melbourne was so good? Because their hooker was a 7 as well. And he seemed to have so much time. You know, the more people chased, the more stupid he made them look. Lockyer a bit similar to that in a different role. But, yeah, it was great listening to Bronson Cherry when he was mic'd up. If you haven't watched that yet, go and watch it. Mic'd up by Fox Sports. And he goes to Birdo. He goes, demand that ball, my brother. Demand that ball. We had him. Demand it. Right? There's people sit there and think, like, they think Reid's not giving it to Toby, and Reid wasn't giving it to Flanagan, and Reid wasn't giving it to, you know, everyone. He wasn't giving it to Galvin on the weekend. They get it right, they get it wrong. But it's, I just look at those cauliflower ears and I just go, oh, well, he should have did that. I saw that as well, brother, and I was like screaming. I was like, what the fuck? Why? But for me, that 40-20 attempt, much different. You know, we don't hit the right guy. We go ourselves. Imagine how Adam O'Brien was feeling, you know, when Hastings, who's like, they look so much better with Hastings, so much more control, defensively stronger. But he has 3 hit-ups in that set of 6. Runs it himself when they're deep in attack. And just have back-to-back sets. You know, can understand. And then they pan over to Adam O'Brien, who's like had more lives than a cat. And he's like, oh, my God. Tell you what, the Knights have got a much stronger side this week against the Dolphins. I'm nearly going to tip an upset here. Even there's a few players backing up. Dolphins have played so well, 150 points and only conceded 3 tries. Knights have got pretty much their 2023 backline there. Interesting. Yeah, I think the Eels did a better job on him. His goal kick was impressive. Sure was a difference in the end. Nah, Wilson's not, Mark, sorry. But a great try set up for Tracey. Well, he didn't set up, but sticks to his wing on the attacking play. Great pass from Carraz. Really good. And then Wilson still got work to do. Pure blinding speed. Breaks the tackle. Makes them look second rate. Beautiful pass inside to Tracey. Great play. I don't necessarily think he was hooked. I just think it was the best thing to do for the team, and that's what they did. Continuing difficult decisions, best forwards and bench. King, Marnie, DSF, Kickout, Preston, Salmon. Bench, not all 3 of me and A with Galvin, give me bench. Me thinks maybe Salmon misses out. Thoughts? David, I don't think Salmon will miss out. And I think when we look at the balance of our side, Salmon is critical to defence. just I think he broke his face trying to save the game against the Warriors. And they were saying he should have been penalised. We stopped them getting a field goal and we ended up winning the game. I think he got injured, was out for a lot of the season. I think he came back maybe right at the end. So he's had to sort of get his fitness back again. But defensively, in the early parts of both years, he's been instrumental to us reducing the points. And whilst we're still the best defensive side, we have leaked a lot more over the second half, over the second quarter of the year. So it's been, I think we miss Salmon. I think he'll be in the side. I think it's going to come down to one of the four people that I said. Man's not going anywhere unless he gets injured or suspended. And he plays to a standard that you can't drop him. And whilst Salmon doesn't look as polished as Man, nor is he, the best running threat, he's scored some important tries in a few different matches through his deception and his dummy. And when he's fit, he can hit the advantage line, take a run, good setup run, quick play the ball. But it's more that clean-up work he does. When he's always there as a third man as well, if he's not the one making the contact and driving players back. He's just instrumental in everything they do. But the system works, and it could be if these guys play at a level over the next few weeks and we don't lose, where it's impossible to drop any of these players, he may not get a go. That's the only way I see it happening. I see it being like, well, we can't drop. Hayward's been going to another level. Man's playing at another level since Origin. They've just gone out there and defeated, Penrith, Brisbane, North Queensland, St George and Manly. I can't, if that's the case, they're going out there and we blow those teams off the park, we'll do it really well. And all those players that we're talking about can't be dropped from that. Might be a case where he rests one, brings Salmon in. I don't know. But that rotation will start to have to happen soon. Obviously, we're just getting another bye. That'll be 3 buys. Yeah, probably what old mate was saying before. Maybe I reckon they'll start before 4 weeks out. I think they might start resting them a little bit before, because games against the Storm, Panthers and Sharks could be pretty bloody important to all those teams. Penrith may need to win to make the 8. Sharks could be in a similar position if they don't get their game on, which I think they will. I expect the Storm to still be there, but they might be fighting for a top 4, as we might be. If we've had a few unexpected losses and are in that situation. 2 tries disallowed for kicks, another good point, Scotty. I think the boys are going through a tough time of the year. Getting these wins, we're not playing our best is important. Well, that's another really major point there, Joby. I don't think we're anywhere near our best. I've been saying it for weeks. Imagine when we play 80. Look, we compete for 80 minutes and outlast teams for 80 minutes, but have we played our best footy for 80 minutes? No. If we go out there and play our best footy for 80 minutes, and look, I almost think and I've said this as well, that Cameron Ciraldo, by design, doesn't want them going out there and winning by 60 against teams. Sometimes as a coach, when you're just driving nails in and the other team's just getting a break and everyone's getting a break, sometimes it's easier on that team just to sit there and keep conceding rather than and getting rests and not have a hard game. And both teams don't end up having a really tough game because it's going one way. We've seen that with the Storm. They come out and smash, but they've still had some bad results after that. or games that haven't really gone that well. Whereas I've seen games where the Dogs have been that dominant with possession, they should have scored 60 and probably could have, but haven't actually really played, you know, what's in front of them to put the points away. I know they're trying to score points, but they've just allowed themselves to grind through, set it up, compete till the team cracks, and then put them away late. And I think that's by design. I think he wants this team to continually play over 80 minutes. And that's just driving a mindset to trusting themselves, to being able to back themselves, and to know that they've got reserves there, that when they think they can't get another breath in, or they think they can't run another meter, that they get there. I mean, May Macquarie posted on Josh Curran last week when he ran against the Eels, when he ran all the way across and he got a hand on one fella. So he's playing on the right, ran all the way across to the left, got a hand on a guy. Then we're able to stop them. Then he's got all the way back, and he was the last person tackling the Fox in front of the try line. Just the fact he just kept on going, whereas a lot of players would have stopped at that point or just not been able to get into that position. And that's the sort of desire that resembles our team and the team that we're loving and backing to win. Leave Wilson alone. He went all right. Passing game was awesome. Don't have a go at Wilson. Mark will not be happy. I love Wilson. Yeah, I'm guilty, bro. I've been Wilson's harshest critic, I reckon, because I believe he can do better if he sharpens his defense and fixes his errors. But, geez, it's hard when he makes the same errors. I didn't see any errors from Wilson. Had a try assist, though. Seen him take tough carries on both sides of the field. Did you see Montoya on the right side taking a carry? It depends, Mark. Wilson wasn't the first hit-up guy, though. He was playing second fiddle, which is... Anyway. Wilson didn't run to the left-hand edge to catch the ball or take first hit-up. Plus, it's also got to do with who needs the help at the time. And Wilson's fit as he should be doing that shit. He had a good game, but yeah, he's made errors with catching the footy quite a lot in his time. But he's a winger. He's got to do that. He's got to make errors. He's got to compete for the ball. You know, and they're not going to catch him all. He's studying to become a pilot. There you go. Ben Harris, a certified commercial airline pilot. Great centre, Benny Harris, unheralded. I thought Wilson was good, mate. He always does a good job. He sure does. G'day, Tahi. What a choice. That's it, bro. From what you've seen of the Dolphins, are they the dark horse for the premiership? The halfback is special. What are your thoughts, in particular, looking at Canberra's draw? Do you have them as minor premiers? Well, Timmy, a lot of these narratives have already been talked about on our favourite TV shows. But good question, brother, and thank you for asking. Yeah, Dolphins they're playing 80 minutes. They've got 80-minute players. They're following a game plan that works. And they're not worried about who's out of their side. They've built some resilience in some young players over. This is now their third year. I never subscribe to the fact that they never got a really good player. They signed Isaiah Katoa, and whilst he's not on huge money, he's on less money than Galvin and extended till 27, 28. I think till 28. You know, he signed at the Dolphins for about 280. We paid 550 for Matty Burton. They've got about 5 fullbacks in their back line. People who have got the ability to play a fullback. They've got a lot of good footballers. They've got a huge junior base. And they've got a very long history as a club, as in Redcliffe. So a lot of pride in that jersey. I think Wayne Bennett's best legacy will be the Dolphin. And the reason I say that is because I actually feel that he was highly concerned with the development of players. And I saw that with Katoa in games where he didn't get involved for 20, 25 minutes at certain points. He was just a kicker of the ball occasionally, turn a couple of people inside for a couple of runs, really wasn't doing nothing. But he was observing, he was learning, he was finding his timing, his space, getting the feel, getting the back and forth going at that level. And then, like a Thai boxer, just slowly build his game more and more and more, dropped him a couple of times, brought him back. Just he's studying, becoming a dominant 7 in the comp. Now he's getting all the ball. He's big, he's strong, and he can just on the run. And there's only a few 7s capable of doing that. And I believe he tackles pretty well too. So it helps when part of the best part of Andrew Johns' game was that there were some forwards who didn't really enjoy running at Andrew. So he wasn't targeted as much because they knew he could handle himself, which frees you up to be more better with the ball. You get your defense right as a 7, you can become so much more effective because you're not expending that energy to defend as much. All little things most people aren't going to talk about. I see Dolphins as a top 8 certainty, which is easy to say when a team puts on 150 points in 3 games. But they'll need to win hard and tough. I felt the game against us was a good game. The scoreboard blew out. Don't care about the scoreboard. What I care about is that that was the first team to beat us with an 80-minute performance. And whilst we were missing people we need, I believe if we had those players and they had a few of theirs, I think we can win. And I don't think it gets out to what it got out to. And plus, they got a lot of players playing above themselves as well, you know. They're doing good. And I think Canberra will go close. They've obviously got having 3 buys on the run home, where we've got none now after this week. Plus, they're playing teams which they should beat. But, you know, they're another side that's done it the hard way a lot of times. Burton's the best half in our club, in my opinion. He's good as any 6 in the game. I would love to see him play with Nathan in the Blues team. Yeah, it would have been nice. I knew it wasn't going to happen. Some people can't believe it. I think they need to change the rules. I think they should just make a squad of 20 that are all selected, and they don't pick they pick their final team 3 days before the match, and so reduce it down to 18 or 19, and all those players stay. But the players they reduce it down to, so look, what I mean is, so you got 20 players. If you get an injury in your team, you have to pick from one of those players. So pick Luai as your backup half, if that's the case, and pick Burton and pick the best players. But know that they could go back to their club if it's 4 days before the game or something. I don't know. Maybe it gets to the Friday before, Friday night football, and they shorten the 20 players down to 19 players or something. Or pick 23 like a normal team. I know I'm waffling a bit and thinking on the run, but just pick 23. Out of those 23, the players that you have to select if there's an injury. And if you get one late, you can only pick from your 18th or 19th man. And that way, you know, I think that'll work a lot better as well. So if you're not good enough to get picked in the initial 23-man squad, you don't play unless they have 6 injuries, which they need to bring in another person. Something like that. Do you think Manly are in a crisis at the moment? I see us beating them when we face them in round 20. I wouldn't get too far ahead of ourselves there, although I'll sit there and pick teams until about round 20. So I'm a bit of a hypocrite, Timmy. But crisis, I don't think they're a crisis. This is the narratives. These are the same narratives that were going against our club. Now, whilst it's Manly, I couldn't give two shits. But at the same time, they're trying to say, oh, they've dropped Lachlan Croker and Jason Saab to reserve grade this week because they're in a crisis and because of the loss against the Titans. Who loses to the Titans? Titans got a good side. They were due for a win. The Knights were due for a win. They come back at home in front of their big home crowds who booed them at half time. Now, the Manly had just spent, beat the Broncos 34-6 the week before. Week later, they're leading like 16-0 or 18-0 at half time. Probably thought they were going to go on with it. They got their pants pulled down. Okay. Lost, went to extra time or something. Ponga scores at the end. Or the other guy scores at the end. No, Ponga scored. Fletcher jumped up for it. One of the Fletcher brothers. They're not brothers, but they look the same. Both got mullets, tall, and mustaches. Fletcher Hunt, I think. But yeah, look, Manly are sitting there and they've had these reviews that they're talking about. So Michael Chammas, I'll tell you what's happened there, right? A player manager at Manly's not happy. Their player's not happy. He's gone and told Chammas, player manager's told Chammas, my player got this thing, was really unhappy about it, and apparently a whole heap of the teammates are pissed off with what just happened with these reviews and shit that Seabolt did. Trying to make out that he's the crazy fucking, his game plans are too confusing and he's a school teacher and all this sort of shit. They're just creating narratives. I can guarantee you that 8 or 9 players didn't go and tell Michael Chammas. It'd be one player manager. Chammas might have enough decency to ring a few others just to check. But you would find most wouldn't just spill their guts on that, especially if their players are happy and have got deals and are doing all right and getting picked. It's business as usual. Everyone's happy there. Obviously, the club would be a little bit pissed. Maybe the club leaked something, but I doubt it. More likely to leak it to a Sydney Morning Herald reporter than a Fox reporter from the club. Like 199 times more likely, 99% more likely. But this is what happens. You lose a game against 2 teams expected to run bottom 4 for the rest of the season. Manly can come out and win this week, win the next week, and then come up against us in good form. Tommy Turbo starts putting on try assists at centre, and all of a sudden, what a great move by the coach to move Tommy to centre. They're firing Kohler and it's unlocked everyone and blah, blah, blah. And he's switching both sides of the field again. He's just doing what he wants. He's enjoying his football. The narratives just change week to week. Someone just sits there and imagines it. It actually pisses me off, guys. But it's part of the thing. We sit there and we think about it and we wonder about all the possibilities and we want our team to win and we're looking ahead at these games, and that's exactly what I've done there. I've looked ahead at these games. We've got Penrith, Brisbane, Cowboys, Dragons, Seagulls, West, Warriors at home, Roosters away, Storm away, Penrith at home, Sharks at home, Dragons at home, Cowboys away, Brisbane at home, Penrith at Combank, Seagulls at Allianz. I think West is at home. So you look at these games and go, we should beat. The way Cowboys are playing, that'll be hard after Origin, but they've got Origin players out too. We should be able to win that game. Brisbane, we should be able to win that game at home. I expect we'll fight back and beat them. Way Manly are playing, we should be able to beat them. West might drop off because they might be out of contention by then. Should be able to beat them. We should beat the Dragons. Warriors at home. Going to be a really tough game. Sydney, Roosters away. Always a worry. Storm away. Probably hoping we beat them. And who knows in these last 3 games. But that run home, Warriors, Roosters, Storm, Panthers, Sharks, doesn't get any tougher than that. Doesn't get any tougher. In my opinion, all those 5 sides have enough talent. Look, Warriors are punching above, but players like James Fisher-Harris are absolutely outstanding players. Mitch Barnett missing for them is going to be tough. Roosters, enough Origin and international players to win the comp. Storm, enough, same thing. Penrith, same thing. Sharks, enough internationals, yeah. And enough players capable of playing Origin. You'd say Mulatalo would be picked for Origin. You'd say Adam Fanua-Blake would be picked for Origin. Hines is always in the picture. Their fullback's like a Luke Patton type to me. One of those solid players, never gets picked. And, they've got a bunch of really good forwards. McGuinness and Orange players. So they're right there. Nakora on the edge. T. Wilton. So hard to handle sometimes. The other big fella who played Origin. All these teams have got, if you've got enough players who've played Origin, you can win the comp, because that's what stats say. That's what the stats say every year. Only 2 sides with less than 4.5 Origin players have won the comp since 2008 or something. Don't break the fence. Presto is Inspector Gadget, the way he just can pull the ball in from any pass. Yeah, well, I love that move. That's the one they did in on the left-hand edge against the Sharks. And on this time, they did it on the right-hand edge. I think it's actually a set move because it keeps happening. And we scored, we scored tries off it. Ciro's a bye to ponder his good headache. Me too, man. I'm getting a headache myself. I think the Dolphins have been playing really well, but they've done that against some very understrength sides. Yeah, that's another thing too, man. Like the Cowboys and us were understrength. Look, they're missing players as well. And I like a lot of players in their team. How many of our money games do you think Jared Sutton will officiate? Let's say 2. 2, Timmy. I reckon he'll handle between 1 and 2. And then a finals game. I think it's the easy way they went with the combinations. Yeah, he's a 6 at the ladder leaders. Yeah, look, I think in a perfect world he gets that opportunity at 6. But I'm just going to go with the Gus Gould factor. Gus doesn't pick the side, I know. But if he was the coach in New South Wales, he would have probably found a spot somewhere else for Burton, or let Burton come back and play. Because I'm telling you, while he's our dominant half, we still haven't seen the best of Matt Burton. Jerome Luai, in Gus Gould's opinion, is almost the equivalent to Nathan Cleary, and will prove himself at least in that capacity for the rest of his career as almost the equivalent. And maybe the equivalent, or maybe surpass him. I doubt it, though, right? And he's played, 11 Origin games at 6. He was probably the most influential player in our victories last year. And I just think that he would have been picked. I knew he was going to be picked. And he's playing a team that's not doing as well. I get it. West don't get anyone in, it seems. But they've been a lot better this year since he's been there. And his combination with Cleary, second to none. I know Burton's played with Cleary, and they have played in the halves together. But normally, actually, Burton used to play half when Cleary was out. Sometimes it was Burton and Tyrone May played halves together in a couple of games. Burton actually got man of the match at 7, playing for Penrith. His combinations of Angus Crichton, Latrell Mitchell, he's played with those guys before. Fair call. Very good. He deserves it. Yep. Hey, Mick, great win. If we weren't for the weather die, I think we win by plenty. G'day, Lucas. 100% agree, bro. G'day, Andy. Montoya's on fire. Release the Hounds. 2025. Doggies on fire. Doggies on top. Pull up your bets, team. Yes, I now agree with you. So we really cannot afford Salmon, Man, Hayward, Marnie, Sexton, Galvin, all in the 17. Geez, tough but healthy position to be in. Yeah, look, unless they move Salmon to an edge, move Preston the prop, or move Kickow into the front row. You know, there's things they could do, but it's not going to happen. Hey, loss. Mark knocks the ball in goal for Souths to win. Knocks the ball over the side to give Souths another set, and then misses his assignment when Whiten scores. Go back. Well, that's the thing, Mark. When you got to look, Mark knows what you mean there, loss, because you have players that you favour and players that you don't, and the players that you don't favour, and we see this with our fans all the time. You've got a thing for Wilson, so you watch him, and when things go wrong and he's in that vicinity, and you can link that error to him, you're going to do it. And sometimes it is him. It might be a lot of the time it is him. But a lot of the time there's a lot more context to it. Takes two to tango. There's no I in team. And every cliche you want. They play as a 17. They go out there. They win as a 17. They lose as a 17. And it's rarely one individual's error which costs anyone the game. Rarely. And especially when the winger's the last person there, because you'll find, like Mark will be talking about Montoya, if he's in field, he's come in too far, and that's his problem. Yet in the same game, you would have seen Carraz get beaten 3 times as well. It's just what we play up in defence. And when we get under sufferance and can't hold things up in the middle and teams get a roll on, they can get us on our edges. And it's proven with the points we concede. But guess what? That's how most teams concede. We're doing that to other teams all the time as well, making some of their wingers look pretty shit. And I can tell you, it's so many pieces of a chessboard which lead to that scenario. It's not just a simple, the winger fucked up. Sometimes, but very rarely. They're just a scapegoat. And I've said it a million times, and I'll keep saying it. How long will Harry Hayes be denied? Stats are off the charts. I don't know if he's being denied, bro, but I think he played well. It was just noticeable he wasn't as hard into the contact a couple of times, but when you're 102 kilos running at the speed he runs at into some of the biggest blokes, and you're making that many tackles, you're going to start feeling the pinch. This is what I say. Like, this system of Serrato is a system for winners, and some of these guys with really big motors and engines could be broken after 2 or 3 seasons, you know. We'll know if they are, because they won't be given contracts. They'll probably go to other clubs on bigger money. And, yeah, that's what we normally see. We will lose somebody. How good was it to see Preston back in the great hit on Humphreys? Oh, yeah. I love Preston. We all love him. One area I feel the Dolphins do lack depth is their forwards. They picked up Marlowe at crucial time but lost Gilbert. Yeah, well, fabulous Frankie Molo is going pretty good, if you ask me. Qatar won't be on small money for long. No, his next contract's going to be huge. But he extended he's got another few years on about 675 grand. All the under-19s New South Wales coaches are ex-Bulldogs players: Jackson Bobcat, Josh Reynolds and Dale Finucane. 100%, and they are Captain Josh Jackson, Captain Andrew Ryan, Captain Josh Reynolds and Captain Dale Finucane. All had been captains at one point, whether it was for one game, whether it was for I'm not sure, actually, Josh Reynolds, I'm not sure if it was a captain, but I know Josh Jackson was captain. Bobcat was a captain. First game of captain, won a premiership. And Dale Finucane was our lower grade captain, New South Wales Cup captain, and the 20s captain. Luke Smith, Curtis Moran, Harry Hayes, all captains. Panthers are not happy about the scheduling of Origin and club games. Oh, no one is. I think the key there, Timmy, you must listen to as much footy stuff as I do, brother. Yeah, the key to that is that you would know, you'd think the NRL would know that they were going to have 5 or 6 players, maybe more in Origin, and then got to go to New Zealand 2 days later, who usually don't have a lot of Origin players because they're the Kiwis. Like, that's just like handing a game to the Warriors. It is. It's essentially handing them a game. It's like, oh, well, you got to back these players up. Well, they probably won't, because they probably would have thought Penrith still would have been well entrenched in the top 8. Chance for the Warriors to score some points. Good for everything. It's deliberately by the NRL. It borders on corruption, honestly. It's not just a random generation of, the FA Cup and who plays who, right? Where they just, harmlessly pick it out of a draw. They call it a draw. It's not a fucking draw at all. Nothing random about it. Because that'd be interesting, wouldn't it? What if it was random? Oh, well, that's the way it came out. No, they pick. And now they're going to give themselves powers to actually if the match committee doesn't book someone and they think that they should have been booked, they're going to book them themselves. I don't know about that, eh? Hey, Mick, do you think there will be any transfers before the June 30 deadline? Good question, Marcus. Oh, I think we might see a couple. One of the commentators on Bar TV said Drew Hutchison had left the club, but I forgot to ask, put a message through. I don't think that he has, but I haven't seen him. I don't think he's injured, so maybe he has. Connor Tracey reminds me a bit of Patton. Oh, he does. He's unheralded, playing at a high level. Look, who's to say Connor Tracey can't play for another 5 years? Because he's only played 100 games. He had a lot of injuries, which meant that he, in those games, he really didn't, all that time off. He's not getting battered and beaten up. Can extend his career. But he's doing a lot of work at the Bulldogs. I think we get Thompson and Fanal Latu next year. We do. And I'm going to show you my 2027 team that I've put out. Moran's off to the Titans. He surely is. We need revenge on Manly from the finals last year. So, look, these are some boxes we need to tick. We need to tick the Penrith box. We need to beat the Broncos and tick that. We need to tick the Cowboys box. They've had a bit of a run on us. We had that win in 2023 after when Burton got the field goal. Preston dives on the loose balls, the chip over the top for that Josh Adokar. Kyle Flanagan at dummy half. Good pass to Burton. Burton kicks the field goal. We beat the Cowboys in round 5 or 3-2 to start the season. Ended up being 7-15 or something. 7-17. We need to assert our... So let's look at... I'm going to show you something here. Oh, it's right there. I've already got it up. So we need to tick the Panthers box. We need to get our dominance over the Broncos at home, because I think they're going to be pretty desperate. Need to tick this Cowboys box. We need to keep that domination over the Dragons going. I think it's gone to 5 straight wins, and maybe like 8 of our last 10 we've beaten the Dragons. We need to tick this Manly box. I think we've lost the last 3 against the Sea Eagles. We need to keep this. I think we've won our last 3 against the Tigers. Need to keep that going. We've won our last 2 against the Warriors. We need to keep that going. Roosters, we've gone win, loss, win. We need to get a double win back to back. Storm, we need to break the drought. We beat them in 2023, lost last year. But before that 2023 win, we'd lost a heap of games. It's time to beat the Storm. We need to beat the Panthers, hopefully in this first game, and then beat them again on the run home. And the Sharks, we've won our last 2. We need to make it 3 in a row. So we need to go undefeated for the rest of the season, guys. I've decided. And that's how it's got to be. But for me, the most important part is ticking that Panthers box with a win there. We get to play them twice. We've got to tick that box. We need to tick the Cowboys box, the Sea Eagles box, and the Storm box, as far as I'm concerned. All the other sides we've had, we've got some respect back, and we've got some huge dominance now on teams like the Titans, the Knights. We've won the last couple against the Raiders. We're in the heads of these teams. We should have had 2 in a row against the Rabbits. 2027 side. 2027 team. What do you reckon about that? 2027. I don't have Viliami Kikau on the team, or Reid Marnie, or Josh Curran. I've got Mitchell Woods at fullback. A few of you still here. Let's talk about that. I've got Jacob Carraz, Bronson Cherry, Stephen Crichton. I think Cherry will be his last year at the club in 27. Jethro Brittany Karma, Matty Burton, Lachlan Galvin, Max King, Bailey Haywood, Leo Thompson, Jacob Preston, Latu Finau, Jack Todd, Jamin Salmon, Harry Hayes, Jack Underhill, and Satili Tupanua. If we get 10 of those players right, we're doing well. Because I have no idea. I want to hear your thoughts about Mitch Woods at fullback. Tell me why. Try and think about why I would say that and why it could happen. And if you've never watched Mitchell Woods play a full game of rugby league, if you've never watched him play more than 5 games, if you've watched him a lot, you should know why I've said that fullback would be a good position for him. We could win all of the last 5 games and lose all 5. Yeah, mate. I think most teams look at us and go, we can beat the Bulldogs. And for a lot of teams, it's like, we will beat the Bulldogs. They're shit. Look at them. Look how shit they are. How'd they win? Teams have been saying that for years, even when we're successful. True story. If we're full strength, we won't lose all of the last 5. God, I'm saying we will win. I'm just saying they are very bad games. We could lose any of them or win any of them. That game meant to say, no I in team, but there is a me. There you go. Me. Got to go, people. Freddie in the 8th is on. Have a great weekend. Freddie in the 8th. Can't believe I've lost out to 2 rugby league players. See, Matty Johns came out and said he reckons Preston will not only be a future Bulldogs captain, but that he will eventually captain Australia. Pretty big rap. Well, Matty gives a lot of big raps, I will say. But any feedback like that, I think it's warranted. I think Matty's got a better understanding than his brother Andrew of grassroots talent anyway. Because he sat there and watched one of the best players play. And he grew up with him. Brian Toller carrying a niggling injury, but good to go on Wednesday. Yeah. Panthers can't get their players over from Western Australia on a direct flight to New Zealand. It's a joke. So they can't play. Drew Hutchins missed the New South Wales Cup game last week. I thought he was injured. Yeah, I didn't know if he was injured or not. But I heard someone say one of the commentators saying, like, I don't know if they meant that he was just being replaced or that he was left the club. There's been no announcement. So, yeah, I don't know. So, what are your thoughts? Give me some thoughts. Mitchell Woods at fullback. Watching Mitchell play, he's got an AFL background. What do people in AFL have to do? They have to be able to leap, take marks. They have to have a huge motor to get around, which they do. Their fitness is off the charts. He's explosive. He can run fast. He can be on the ball constantly. He's got a great passing game. He knows how to be a playmaker, which I'm sure he'll be able to sit there and read defence. He's a strong communicator. And a lot of our halves have developed through that pathway. The other main thing is who did Gus Gould say that Mitchell Woods reminds him of the most? He said Stevie Mortimer. I believe in today's game where you don't have the halfback sitting behind the front line, that a lot of the halfbacks in the past would actually make a modern day fullback, those nuggety types. You know, you've got the two types. You know, people speak about Burton as a fullback because, you know, and you looked at those players coming through, what was his friggin' name? Played fullback for Canberra, went to Cronulla as a centre. Dugan, Mullins, you know, these big striders. Luke Patton wasn't short. He was a bit of a strider himself. That type of fullback. Greg Inglis. People can see Burton in that capacity. And Latrell's sort of in that capacity as well. But the the acrobatic or whatever it is, aerodynamic, I'm not sure what the word is. But the ability to do what these fullbacks do these days, from just making that sort of playing in the line, making the defensive tackle, scooting across to the other side, then scooting all the way back to the other. The Jai Greys, the bloody Connor Tracey's, the Dylan Edwards, you know, the Teddy Tedesco's. These players, these are your fullbacks, right? Mitchell Woods, I see in that capacity. He's not a huge, tall, long striding being. He's sharp. He's fast. He's explosive. He can do it all, and he can catch a footy because he's got that AFL. He was at the crossroads. Do I go and play for the Swans or do I play for the Bulldogs? Like, to Carmichael Hunt transition into AFL fullback. I think it'd be a good transition, and you have your best players in your spine. I think it's leading more to having bigger bodies in your halves and the littler men in your fullback. The way I'm seeing it, Burton, Galvin, Woods, Haywood. Could do a lot worse. AFL players have a good kick accuracy. Well, they do. And he could kick as well if needed. Do you think Woods would be able to make the meters like a Dylan Edwards or a Tedesco? Do because I think Sarah likes that kind of fullback. Ciro likes that kind of fullback. Well, that's 100% I believe he could, because he's got a really good step as well. And he's fast. So and he's fit. So he's going to be able to get across the ground. Mark, you've said lots of things. Like that's the status quo line, Mark. We know that. Mitchell Woods is the 7 going forward. He's got to earn it. He's got to do it. And I'm telling you, if we're dominant and things are happening, well, see Stephen Crichton as a fullback, I saw him make 300 metres in a game once where people thought he played shit. In attack, there was nothing there. But he did all this. He did all the other stuff. But I don't think he's just a long strider. I just don't see him being as effective in attack and being able to get to all those balls and do all that yardage work. And what I do see is Mitch Woods, he's put on a lot of muscle this year, and I see all his best attributes in attack suit fullback. And it wouldn't surprise me if they've got it in the back of their mind. Because I can tell you, the young kids, I'm not writing them off. The Cochrans and the Corcorans. Of course not. We just got this new kid coming through from Queensland. I think his name's Bryant. And look, and that's another thing. Stupid fans. When we're recruiting a 16 or a 17-year-old kid from high school to join our Jersey Flegg or our SG Ballside or Harold Matt's team, and it's announced on our websites, please don't start going on, oh, we've got Connor Tracey, we don't need these. Like, come on. Learn more about the club. We've got a pathway system we need to develop kids in. I know all you guys know that, but if you ever see that shit, call it out. These kids are coming to our club. They don't need no-name Nellies fucking talking shit because they love their team the way it is. God, if our coach listened to our bloody fans, even some of us right now, even me at different points, we'd still be running last. Sarah autocorrect is so annoying. I know, it's shit, eh? Crichton will be fullback eventually. Well, I've said that, Mark, but I don't think he will. I think he'll be the Mao Meninga in the centres. Just one of the good players that plays his position. He's just too good there. He's too good there. We're not going to have someone who's naturally gifted in that position. Never say never, but yeah, I just don't see him as the type of fullback that they want him. You know, I just don't see that. He's not that type of player, or he would have already got the opportunity. They wouldn't have gone and bought Blake Taff and Connor Tracey if they felt Crichton was going to be the fullback. But Carraz is another one who can do it. Wilson, I think Wilson's probably more suited than both those two. But is he going to communicate in his defence? Don't know. Well, I think would be a natural development, and I actually see him more as a 6 than a 7. But see, people saying he's going to be the 7, like Mark, gotta love you, Mark. I know you haven't watched hardly any of his games. You haven't. You're just speaking off rhetoric. You're just trusting a voice, trusting a word in a paper, like most of the media who talk about it. When I've watched him play, he's been a really great runner of the football, which you need to be as a 7 these days. Like, not saying that, but I think he's got a lot of brilliance in his game, but he's actually been really working hard at his control and his accuracy and pulling the right pin at the right time, you know, pulling the trigger at the right time. And I trust in that process. This is just a discussion point based on what I see. Look, that doesn't mean nothing. It's not going to hurt me or him either way, trust me. But I swear, if you haven't watched these kids play, go watch them play. And then we can have a discussion about it. We can actually talk about it. If you've got the time, it's really good to go and watch these kids play, especially the younger ones as well. It's great to see how they go out there and just playing with so much freedom. And yeah, it's really entertaining. With the under-19s New South Wales Origin side, Woods is named in the halves with Toby Rodwell. Well, I felt Rodwell was much more dominant last year than Woods. We will see how it goes this year. But see, the thing is, Woods played his role last year, and I think he'd play his role this year as well. I think he's a team player, and you'll notice that any team he's in does do a little bit better. They go about things better. He brings confidence. There is something special about Mitchell Woods. But unless you're watching his games, I think, yeah. Not sure when I've ever seen him play at fullback. He doesn't have the passing game like Latrell. Yeah, well, JB, I think Crichton can do anything, and that's probably what holds him in good stead. He can do anything. If he can't do it, he'll work it out. His passing's pretty good. It's one of the good things about seeing a lot of our players in our team is the improvement in their passing. Like you watch the Fox when he gets a ball back inside after a break, very rarely misses his target with the ball. Gets it 99.9% on the chest of the player. He's a winger. Was he that good at the Storm? Maybe. Yeah. He can hold a ball in one hand. He has the skills. He sure does. But look, I don't know. I just think it will negate a lot out of his game. He's able to influence so well from the position he's in. I just don't see it. I did see it for a long time, but I just don't anymore. Did I say you follow the media? Well, Mark, I know you haven't watched Mitchell Woods. You, like many people, haven't watched Mitchell Woods hardly play a game of football. Yet you talk about him like you're an expert. He will be the 7. Look, anyone can say that. Gus Gould will probably agree with you. You're probably 100% right? Probably going to get it right. I'm not saying you follow the media. I'm saying you're following the narrative, which is being created by our own media and our own social media. And even people like myself who have watched him play from a TV perspective for the most part, and then gone, this is what I think. But it's over double figures, what I've seen, compared to, and there's people who've gone and watched him nearly every game he's played, and they know a lot more of what he's capable of. And the people training him, they see what he's getting in all of his stats and, all of his, sprint tests and beep tests and all this sort of shit. And he leaves other people behind, how he has an effect on people around him. That's all the stuff, the real stuff. But yeah, I know you have. I would doubt you've watched 2 games, if that, of Mitch Woods. But anyway, you're not out of place because you can pretty much trust the narrative's correct, and he's probably going to play 7. I'm not just arguing for the sake of it. I'm just trying to make a point that what I want people to actually do is to actually go and watch those kids if they can, because it's beneficial to these kids. And you go and watch Mitch Woods play, and you go and see a whole heap of others. And then you go, oh, shit, who's this kid? Like Timmy was talking about Taupa the other day. First time he probably all seen him in New South Wales Cup. But yeah, the kid's really, really good. Bloke I speak to was actually one of the ones who pushed his signature. Actually got him helped get him into the club, helped scout him. And, it's great when you can see talent actually starts to progress. Jeffrey a name for the under-19s New South Wales side. He sure is, mate. I'm very assuming that you haven't watched him. I'm not saying you haven't watched him. I'm saying you have hardly watched him. But anyway. I can make that fair assumption based on a lot of things. Timmy, as you pointed out, with Woods being part of the Swans Academy previously, would definitely have the attributes to play fullback. Look at Lockyer Call playing fullback and turned 5'8", as you mentioned. Yeah, he's Australia's best fullback turned into Australia's best number 6. And really, I think wasn't as strong defensively as Andrew Johns, but just as probably more influential, to be honest. Remember one of those Ashes tours, without Lockyer, we lose those games against England. I'm not saying you're less knowledgeable. This isn't about knowledge. This is about, I know you haven't watched him. But we can get into those discussions anytime. But if you're going to go out there and say he's the number 7, and I don't have to agree. Although it's looking very likely he's the prodigy and the anointed one, and the people are making those comments, I trust. I'm raising a narrative about fullback, and rather than discussing why, you're just like, nah, not going to happen. But when you also say Wilson's the best winger in the club, well, he's clearly not, and no one shares that opinion. That sort of drives those assumptions. But so, are you subscribing to Bar TV? Because I don't think you are. And yeah, but you should if you can afford it. Really good to watch. Great way to spend your weekend. You got time. Watch the kids run around. Ron Massey. I just love the technology we've got available that we can do this, because we don't get these games on Fox. How many games have we had on Fox this year and last year? How many Jersey Flegg games have we had? Not many. So it's a fair call to make. It's on now. Don't you diss Wilson? I'm not dissing him at all. I'm just saying he's not the best winger in the club. It's not even a subjective opinion. Statistically, pub test. But I think you know that now, brother. That game in New South Wales Cup on King's birthday, and I thought he played well in the halves, but he is versatile, as I believe Woods will do whatever is best for the team. 100%. And look, the reason I've suggested it is because I just think that they'll find a way to get him into the team. Tracey could be rehired and still be fresh to play another 50 games at that point, and might be well and truly needed and wanted in that role. But one would think that Taff might be on the way out, whether he wants that or not. And with that being the case, that depth is tested, which brings Critter into that conversation. But if Woods is ready and there's a spot for him, they might try him there. Burton may be put there, even though I think that's ridiculous. Just looking at the types of fullbacks that have been in the systems that Phil Gould has put in place at all the clubs he's been at, there's a real similarity about the type of fullback that they get into those teams. Luke Phillips, Anthony Minicello, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck would have been the next one. Teddy Tedesco, Dylan Edwards. Now, I know they signed Critter on that fullback money, and Phil Gould was a part of that because they really believe in this kid. So I'm not dismissing that. I actually said, with our salary cap, they may have to make that call where they go, Critter's got to go to fullback. But I think if you've got a spine player and you've got a great centre who can play fullback, but you've got a player who's a fullback or a half and can't play centre, and you've got the best centre in the world, who's going to prove to be that, I think, over many years, and who captains from there, the first really since Meninga, you're looking at a possibility that Woods could slot in there. And I think Galvin, as that will get bigger and more solid, more skillful, I find his kicking's quite good. You got Burton there who kicks the hell out of the footy. In 2027, that might be the pathway for Woods into the halves, might be via the fullback position. And I'd be interested to see how it goes. I've got a feeling, though, if I said to Phil Good, do you see Mitch Woods playing as a fullback? He'll probably go, nah. Nope. He might have already made his mind up. May not even consider it. Maybe a completely moot point that I've just wasted an hour talking about and arguing about. But guess what? It's my podcast. And I'll cry if I want to. Where are these lower grade games available? They're on Bar TV, brother. Look, the problem is it's about $19 a month. Last year it was $9 a month for New South Wales TV. But Bar TV has so much. It's got all the Ron Massey games. It's got group games, Newcastle games, bloody Queensland games, all these different. It's just got it all. Some of the games don't even have commentators, but they've got cameras running on them and they've got the score updating and stuff, like, because they're doing so much, but someone's got to do it. And so the $20 a month, I feel like it's almost like a donation to rugby league and getting people involved. Like, that's how I feel about paying the money, not paying $20 because for this great service. I feel it's a pretty good app. It does a good job. But yeah, I feel like I'm contributing more to the game that way. And yeah, that's why I like Bar TV. So if you can afford it, go give it a crack. Have you got it, mate? I didn't think that you did. I thought you said you didn't. Anyway, go watch Mitchy Woods, bro, and tell me why he can be a fullback. Because that's what the discussion was about, brother. Can Mitchy Woods, why can he play fullback? Not why he can't. Cochrane played well on the weekend. Definitely parts of his game he can improve, both defensive and offensive. Yeah, look, he's very skilled. And for these young guys, it's a real look, there's men playing New South Wales Cup, yeah? There's some really hardened, seasoned players with numerous New South Wales Cup games and numerous first grade games playing in these games against kids who are basically still eligible for Flegg, or some of them SG ball, and some of them only just sort of into this New South Wales Cup as a regular sort of player. It's tough. And they'll have moments where they've got open space and they're doing things great. It's all coming easily. And then cop a few bumps and bruises for some big hits. They're copping big hits all the time. Sometimes the speed of the game is really good. Sometimes the stop-start's not as bad. The game can actually flow in New South Wales Cup a lot better sometimes. When you're not having bunkers, sitting there saying, oh, people aren't staying down to milk a penalty because they know there's a camera not there. So they get up. Oh, it's been missed. I get up and play the ball. So you don't get those stoppages that you can have from the rules in NRL and the cameras retrospectively picking shit up, which slows down the game. So they have moments where they've really got to call on their reserves. Mrs. might shoot me if I subscribe to another service. 100%, man. I get it. I just cancelled Apple and something else the other day. I fucking waste so much on it. I don't need to donate to them mothers either unless I'm watching it. So yeah, when you're watching something, I pay for it. And then when you stop watching it, turn it off. Hutchbook got injured, did he? There you go. Some of the best fullbacks started in either positions, like Slater, he started on the wing. And look about Cooper Cronk, centre into a fullback. Jerome Hughes, fullback. See, it makes sense. It makes sense. Might turn out to be the best fullback in the club. Wilson might turn out to be the best fullback in the club if he was given a chance, Mark. What position does Hamish Wilson play? He's a centre, could play wing. I just call him Blake's brother, Hamish. I don't think they're related. You're not getting paid over Critter. I mean, the best centre in the game has always historically been pretty highly paid. Yeah, well, Gus doesn't like paying centres that much. I can tell you that now, but I think Gus also, if you pay a centre $1 million, which Critter's going to get, I reckon he'll get that upgraded, right? Possibly could have done it last year, to be honest. If they upgrade Critter, you've got to make savings elsewhere. And that's how, if you're paying too much for your back rowers. So it's like we think, okay, we've got Preston on about 450. I say 4 to 450. Kickout's on about 780 to 850. I think it's 825. That's what I read. And then Satili Tupanura on 650. You're paying too much for your edge. But Satili's playing middle. So it's just completely changed everything. When you see where they actually end up playing and stuff, it's like, oh. And Serrato was right. People saying, oh, Preston's going to be dropped. And then there's people going, oh, Kickout should be dropped. He's lazy. If Satili comes in, you saw Satili chase down Jarrell Skelton. Satili runs great lines. Yeah, he does. And actually, when he came to Canterbury, the actual aggression, next level for Satili. Yeah, schoolboys games. Some of them are, but I think that's on a Telegraph site. I think the Daily Telegraph's got some sort of site with the schoolboy games. CJ's team won last week. Elaine shared the information of the win. Yeah, they had a couple of wins, and he scored a bunch of tries, as usual. He's not as... We played centre in that game, but he's a fullback, Mark. He's actually a fullback. He's played 6 in Harold Matts. He played centre in a team which included a lot of kids who repeated year 12 so they could play footy again. He wasn't one of them. He's in his proper age group, and he was pushed out to centre and finished off a lot of stuff. Didn't need to get it to the winger, obviously. He gets the job done, but yeah, CJ, in my opinion, is built as a fullback and goes hard. Hopefully he gets to showcase that through the Bulldog system. That'd be really good. Because, I don't know, I am a little bit biased, having watched his games and seen him score. If there was a market out for first try scorer for the Bulldogs every week, it'd be him. I think he's got first try in about 6 of the first 7 games or something. Amazing. New South Wales Cup side just needed Daryl Halligan and Al Magic kicking goals on the weekend. It would have been a closer on the scoreboard. Yeah, and then they were under scoreboard pressure. And it was frustrating watching that game, though. I was frustrated watching it. I think Cassius Tear was goal kicking to begin with, but then towards the end, the goal kicking duties was handed over to Sewer, who kicked the goal. Mick making your case. There you go. CJ reminds me of Matty Bowen or Benny Barber or Preston Campbell, same size and stature. He might even be a little bit more solid than them fellas, though. And just as talented, hopefully. All right, let's get on to presenting some shit before we go. What am I going to present? There we go. Let's make it even smaller. Turn them off. So what am I showing you here? So a lot of our forwards So our back five was just dynamic. From Tracey to Wilson to Cherry. To Montoya and Carraz. Big meters. Lockie and Toby had 12 runs each. But Lockie didn't get any ball. Josh had 15. Does it have the receipts in there? That's another one to look at. I forgot to look at that. Sexton, 59 receipts. Lachlan Galvin, 74. Galvin, 61 passes. Sexton, 38. But apparently, Galvin didn't get the footy. Isn't that funny, eh? 3 dummies each. Run ratio. Galvin, 23 tackles, no misses. Wasn't first into the contact in most, though, I will say, but his line speed was good and he met people where he needs to be effective. Kicking meters, his kicks were good. Forced a drop out, as did Sexton. Toby made 20 tackles, missing 2 and 3. But they did attack their left edge attacked our right edge with more, with more shape. Curran, 39 tackles. Marnie, 57. See, Saluka only had to make 9, Mark, and that's the point I make. When we got all that possession in that first 20 minutes, he's running downhill, but all of his runs were great, and they got better and better, as they should have. He did his job really well. Kick out, 31 tackles. I felt it was one of Big Kick's best games, and he really led by example. Presto, 33 tackles in his first game back. Hayward, 35 tackles. Terps, 13. Harry made 38. Kurt made 16. And the man, Blake Taft, made 1. Jacob made 17. He had a missed tackle that led to a try. And there was obviously a misread between him and Sexton and Presto. Errors. Wilson, 2 errors, 1 handling error. Carraz, 3 errors, 3 handling errors. But no one was talking about that. And Marcello, 1 error. Josh, 1 error. Kickout, 1 error. And Presto, 1 error. So all the people who said that Galvin didn't get the footy, officially, he got it past 74 times, and he made 61 passes from those 74. He took 12 runs. Toby. And I'm sitting there saying Toby was the dominant half. Interesting. I don't feel it was that like that. Isn't that weird? I sort of get where people are coming from, but the stats apparently don't lie. I'm going to have to watch again and go and count, which is, I know, pedantic and anal, but that's the way I am. Team stats. We had 56% possession, an extra 7 minutes with the ball. Our completions, 36 from 43. I think we completed the first 17. They really fixed their completion rate up. Run meters, 1,900 from an extra 40 runs. A lot more post contact, more line breaks, more tackle breaks. Average set distance, an extra 17 meters per set. But people were saying we were too light on the bench, apparently. Average play the ball speed, again, they're allowed to lay all over us and get away with it. Offloads, 16. We killed rabbits with offloads. And we threw a lot more passes, a lot more dummies, a few more kicks. Bit down on the kick meters. Humphrey's got a big boot on him. Forced a couple of dropouts. Tackled much better than the rabbits. And obviously 11 penalties conceded. So there you go. One last thing we're going to look at. Bulldogs versus Raiders. Here's the team lists. Taff Wilson, Luke Smith, Anari Tuala, Jonathan Sewer, Cassius Tia and Joey O'Neill. You know, that is a real... They've just brought in Taff, Wilson, Underhill, Turpin, O'Neill, Moran and Grossamy. They gave a lot of them lads a break, or they were up in playing first grade. Sam Hughes, Turpin, AK Jones, Grossamy, Spinks and Moran. This is going to be a good game. They're a good side, the Raiders. Adam Cook's really good in that grade. Jordan Martin goes hard. But Jack Clydesdale, these kids are better than they look, but they've lost Chevy Stewart, Danny Levi, Ethan Sanders, Luke Cannon, Noah Martin, Pasami Solo and Trey Mooney. So they're heavily depleted. Ruben Moyle pushed out to 18th man. They've got big hopes for Fumi Toilalo, Zion Ma'u back to the bench, Otakulo back to the bench. That's a pretty big bench for the Dogs. I'm not sure if we'll see a change there or not. But that's a much more serious New South Wales Cup side, and they'll be looking to go out and whack the Raiders, who have struggled a bit as they've had their depth tested this year. So good signs for the Dogs to be able to get into that game and have a win. And then we've got the Jersey Flegg. We're playing the table-topping Raiders at Belmore, 145. They bring back Reardon, Mazzoni and Teupa. Ruben and Alatini go out to the... both of those players go to Ron Massey. Now, I'm not sure, before I look at that, where Will Afualo is. I saw the team today, but... Oh, here we go. Mac Puafisi, I like him. Adam Runchell goes all right. Alan Holton looks the part. Toby Sullivan's a big boy. Leighton Borg's a big boy too. Alatini, big future. Callum Donaldson goes hard. You know, LeBron Tuala's a massive human, and so is Mifsud. Taj Hughes and Blair Tuggy Fui Meono. I like watching them. They've really struggled. They struggle in the back end of games. But what the hell? Let's go back to this Jersey Flegg Cup, and then I'll let you go. If you haven't already gone already. Roy Tatupu into fullback. Geordie Mazzoni back on the wing with Sasaya Kafusi, Daniel Corcoran, Jope Rock, don't know how to pronounce it, Joseph Taupa, Alex Conti at 7, Mitch Woods, and is obviously in under 19s New South Wales. Not sure if he'll come back to Flegg or if he'll go in a New South Wales Cup. That's going to be very interesting to see. Bud Smith, the son of Jason Smith, Patrick Young, who's on our development list, Damon Marshall, who's only just returned from injury after a long injury for this season. He's another one that's really good defensive, played Queensland under 19s last year, so really good. Jed Reardon, son of Steve, the Sepho Finau, Bailey Myers, and then we've got Cohen Patterson, Chase Patterson, Patrick Carey, and Malachi Filippo, and the extra reserve, Latrell Thing. 6th place for the Dogs. I think we're equal 5th with the Penrith Panthers. We've dropped down to 7th in New South Wales Cup, so we need to get our act together there big time. Way behind some of the sides, so we need to get into that top 5. And Jersey Flegg, 20 points for the Panthers, really close and congested here. only 4 points from the top of the ladder. So a win over the Raiders would be massive for the Dogs, who have won their last 4 games. So big game coming up for the boys. God, how many bloody things are you bloody saying? CJ reminds me of Matty Buffalo, Paul Galvin. Mitchell almost had a third, but Jai Gray made a crucial try-saving tackle. He sure did. He was only on for 20 minutes. DSF was great. Prorated is 400 metres and 80 metres. Good night, champion. Go New South Wales and go the Doggies. Good night, Timmy. Kick's been amazing. Sure has. Who's halfback for the Raiders? I love the name LeBron. Makes me think of King James in the NBA. aka LeBron James. Still here. On your Jovi. Where's Pete? Pete's on the island, Mark. He's on the island. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. 2.5 hours. Not a lot of people on tonight, but all the main people were here saying hello, which is all that matters. We had Timmy, Don't Break the Fence, Mark, Andy, Scotty, Joby, Dave, Lucas, bloody heaps of people. Elaine says hello as usual. Oh, Michael, he's here. Thanks so much, brother. The lightning was very loud at the game. Bloody hell, Mike, you haven't been coming and joining and giving us all your stuff. The next Origin game, Game 3, we're going to have a quiz. So I'll get a few people on. Timmy might come on. Might see if Joby wants to come on. Might see if Mike Cool wants to come on. Who wants to come on? Tell me if you want to come on and answer the quiz. Not sure if you covered, but I was thinking what's happening with Samu. Surely he's fit enough now. We're starting in New South Wales Cup this week. He's got number 8 on his back. I think it's more of a case of just I'm just not sure what they're going to do there, honestly. It's got nothing to do with him not being good enough. He just might need a few weeks to get into that. The fitness of these big fellas is a bit different, especially for the game we play. So Saluka Fafita, it took him quite a while to wind up and get that fitness happening. And he's only playing 20 minutes and doing a good job. I think they were getting Sam up to 36, 40 minutes in some games last year. And I think they were looking to build him into a real viable half a game option over 2 stints. But that injury sort of put paid to that. So we just got to see. And the more minutes he gets, the longer minutes he gets playing cup in some serious tests, it'll be better for us, because if he can get that fitness going, where he can not just play 20, but play 30 or 40, puts us in a much better position. And it just comes down to trust. They've got to be able to trust that he can come on, make a difference with the ball, make a real difference without the ball, mainly, and not get caught out and cost us points or cost us field position, which is what happens when these big guys run out of puff and they start knocking the ball on, fucking up play the balls. That's what you see in every game. We don't. Our possession stats are pretty good. Let me know before you, Mick. Mike, I've got to get you on. You got to show me, give me your Facebook or your Messenger or something, so because you should have you click the little bell for notifications on YouTube, but some people don't get it, which is why I send a heap out to messages and all that sort of stuff. Annoy a few people, unfortunately, but we'll get Mike and Joby on and Timmy. Beautiful. Well, let's do it. By the way, Mick, do you think Canberra have a higher chance of getting first than us due to a very easy draw? You and Timmy are very, very analytical on the stuff, man. You love it. Their draw is definitely more advantageous towards them getting minor premiership. 100%. But this game of rugby league can change, flip on its head in a week, as we've seen. You lose a couple of games to teams that people say are no good, and all of a sudden you're in a crisis. They sure are, Mike. I think Slater deliberately used today's press conference to fire his team up and deflect the attention from them. Good question, man. I wanted to talk about Origin. I felt the fact he brought up Paul Green was fucking disgraceful. He was nearly crying when he said it too. He might have felt that way, which is different, but no. No one was... Look, Queensland got humbled in those first two games. That might upset Paul. I don't know. They won the third game against all odds. And he was a good coach. He coached the Cowboys to their first win. He coached Win and Manly to back-to-back victories. And really intelligent guy at his school. Loyal person. No one knew it was coming. And I just thought that Billy Slater sort of making out, like, if you call someone grub, they might not be able to handle it. Maybe the previous coach didn't. Like, fuck off, mate. You don't know what's going on in his life. No one did. And for you to sit there and say that be over Sharon Woods trying to create a fucking narrative about Slater, because Slater kicked people in the face and stuff when he was catching the ball, because he was so determined to win that he, used to, just lose his head sometimes as a player. And because Sharon Woods, who gives a fuck about Sharon Woods? I saw Cameron Smith in an Origin game stick his finger right up his ass. I videoed it and shared it everywhere. No one gave a fuck because Cameron Smith did it. Sent it to all the radio stations, all the media. No one cared. No one cares. He did that to Aaron Woods. Aaron Woods never ever said nothing about it. But he said this grub thing about Slater now that he's trying to make narratives as a radio person. That's his job. That's the only way he's going to keep his job too, to create bullshit. Billy looked like he was nearly crying talking about it. Oh, I hope that drives Queensland. And then all these people talking about Phil Gould who says they can't. You know why Phil said that? Because if he's trying to fire him up, he wants Queensland to really play well. He wants New South Wales to overcome it, but he doesn't want a game where New South Wales easily smash Queensland and they're in complete disarray, and all of a sudden ratings go down because Queensland's out of the contest. Because that's what happens every time Queensland lose a few series or look like they're going on a big slide. Origin dead. And New South Wales are only up 1-0, won by 12 points. Anyway, you unleashed the beast there, didn't you? I would have been told how to come not to be tech savvy, being a simple trade. I love Logan Spinks, good player, and he got some good tries the last couple of weeks. Might be the youngest bloke to be on your podcast. Well, another record, Mike, another stat. There you go. Had nothing to do with Green. Shouldn't have brought that up at all. Not fair on the family. Yeah, why would you bring that up, buddy? I thought that was disgraceful. And maybe Billy knows something, but keyboard warriors. Turpin was got sent to the sin bin. Gave away a couple of penalties. People are screaming on social media. He should never play for the Bulldogs again. People are just losing their brains. And then when you see someone like Billy Slater act like he's on social media, I know what he was trying to do there. I thought it was absolutely disgraceful. And I think if he had his time again, he wouldn't do it. He's an emotional guy. He played like that. So it's got to him. I think he's picked a team based on, he looks at his team and goes, these guys work hard and they'll work for each other and they'll know what it means and they'll do the best job for Queensland. I think he believes that. And he's basing it off this criteria that he's looking at. But the thing he's missed out about it, and this is what comes when you're in a team that wins 8 in a row and could have easily won 10 or 11 in a row, when it comes so easy for those people, which was built from teams that had the dominant players of the time. He's underestimated that Queensland have always, when they've had their backs against the wall, have picked players with fire in their belly who change it on pure passion and not through the skill and not necessarily hard work for their clubs. They pick players that were out of form all the time. And they'd get the job done in Origin. So I think he's missed the boat on that. I think he's gone out looking for the players that are showing him the things in games that he thinks can transfer that over to Origin, and maybe it will, but you need those players that are going to go out there and just... someone actually mentioned Josh Papali would be someone you'd bring back. And I thought, maybe, because he gets it. You know, he's going to rip in and tear. And they've got players in that team that'll do that, for sure. But they're coming up against a team that's got 5 or 6 players that have won 4 or 5 premierships in a row. And hardly any of the players in that Queensland team have been in a team that has successfully, consistently got it over players in that position. There's Crichton, Luai, you got Burton on the edge of it, you got Yo, Martin, To'o, Edwards, and Cleary. Dominant. Add to that Payne Haas, named the best player in his position and team for the last 6 or 7 years. Unbelievable. Queensland always resort to dirty tactics during Origin to turn the momentum when Blues were getting on top. 100%. Billy needs to understand Woodsy he's a bit silly trying to rev up the game because Billy and Daly are just too nice. That's it, JB. You're a Wagga boy, you know, mate. We know in Wagga. Wagga's like a mini Queensland. You might not like me saying that, but it's true. See, in Wagga, I hated people from Sydney. Hated the city folk, even though we were like basically the the snobs of the Riverina. But I grew up there. I was born there, lived there 15 straight years. Raised there. It's good. Lots of sport. Lots of kids put shit on you. Lots of places to go. You do it all. You play golf, you play league, you play soccer, you play cricket. You go yabbying, you go fishing. You do it all. You go pigging if you're lucky. Sorry if anyone's... We're from Wagga. It's like the mini Queensland. You know? Anyway, talking shit now. Time to go, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a good podcast. That was city country thing. They always think they're better. Watched the decider last year in the sports club at Wagga. What an eruption when we won. It was bloody good. Bulldogs 100-0 by. We'll beat the by 100-0. Oh, mate, Wagga's just a great sporting country town, mate. Look, it's grown a lot. I lived in Fernley Road. in Ashmont. Used to just be rolling hills in front of my house. Used to cross the train station. We used to walk to the train station to Kapooka. Just walk out. My mum used to coach hockey on the paddock out the front. You know. Now it's all covered in thousands and thousands of houses. It's continued to grow. A lot of people don't leave there. A bit like Queensland. You know, you can get a job there. There's a bit of work. Anyway, good place. Love their sport. A lot of good sportsmen come from Wagga. I can tell you that. Lived outside Kapooka, 7981 Wagga only. Had a single KFC back then, no Maccas. I was born in 77, old fella Dave. So you're out near San Isidore or somewhere like that. We drove to Albury to get Maccas. I think they brought Maccas in 1986 to Wagga. And they actually got a second KFC. That was the highlight of our week or month. Now you're going to get it every day if you want. That's the difference in our society. You get Maccas every day. Yes, I was there in 86. No, thank you, Joby. No, thank you, Joby. There you go. Thanks, guys. Been a good one. I enjoy your company. And in our pre-origin game, Dee's written out all the questions. I'm not going to tell you the actual theme because then you'll be able to do your research. But I've got a heap of questions. And for the third game, we will have the quiz and it will be bloody fantastic. Might come on and get a couple more videos this week, not sure. See how we go. Got a fair bit of work to do. Go the Blues, old fella Dave, Blues 24, Queensland 6. I reckon it's going to be 32 points to 12, but Queensland will lead 12-6 at one point. Go the Blues, go the Dogs. Blues 500, Queensland 0. $32.18. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Love spending time with you. Dogs to beat the bye this week. 28 points after 16 rounds. Don't think we've ever been that high in points for that amount of rounds before. Obviously, 3 byes help. But good platform to leverage off. And we've got a long run home. And it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be heart-wrenching at times. But hopefully we'll see us continue to stay right up there at the top of the ladder. Let's get into it. See you soon. Go the Blues tomorrow. And we'll see you soon for the Bulldogs versus Panthers next Thursday. We've got under 19 State of Origin. Watch our kids. We've got 2 players playing in the Queensland side as well. Oliver Smith. And there's another player too. Sorry, I forgot his name. So that's 4 players in Origin. In under 19s. Watch that if you can. New South Wales Cup, Flegg, Ron Massey on the weekend. Lots happening. Trials happening for WNRLs coming up too. And the Bulldogs to be kicking that off in July. Harvey Norman Women's Premiership as well. So lots of teams to follow as we head into September via July, August, and the rest of June. See you guys. Take care. Good night.